Hi, I'm Raluca. I'm the CEO at Beyond Dracula Travel. And on May 13, 2026, we're turning 13. The company was started by my business partners, Giulio and Alexandra Dasaco, and they started it in 2012, so 14 years ago. And their idea was to travel around Romania, to get to know the country very well, to listen to travelers who want to visit it, and then create customized trips. They created the company, the name, the logo. This was all of it them. And then they didn't find someone to run the company, and they closed it. And over a casual conversation we had over Easter in 2013, they just asked, and you'll have to get to Giulio and ask him, why did he approach me for this? And he told me about the idea, and he's like, do you want to join as a partner and as the person who actually runs this? And I said, I have no experience in travel. I have never built a business, but the idea made total sense. So the thing that I believe not just me, but also them knew it in a way in our guts was what I just described, that if you travel around, if you know the place very well, if you're curious about it and you constantly learn about it, and then you have people come over and they say, hey, I like photography, I want to travel to Romania, and you create something that's for them, tailored exclusively to them, the experience is going to be a fantastic one. And they will go back talking to everyone about their wonderful time in Romania, and more people will come. So that was the idea, which to us sounded very solid. And my question to Julia and Alexandra was like, isn't someone doing this already? And there were some people doing it, but not throughout the year. But that's the one thing that we believe that makes so much sense, that it's unavoidable for things to happen and for us to build a business around it. I always start presentations or chats with people who are curious about Romania by saying that it's not for those who understand luxury in the sense of opulence. However, it's perfect for those who understand luxury in the sense of experiences, presence, freedom, the kind of thing we have here right now. I mean, the views, the wind, being outdoors. And the other thing that I say, that Romania appeals to travelers who want to see nature, and this doesn't mean that they have to, hug trees or go on hikes. They can, and we have options for any kind of level. But they must at least like to see beautiful scenery, even if they drive through the country and don't get into nature. And the second thing is they have to be curious and like to discover a new local culture. And that's something that they discover by meeting local people in markets, by having a chat with the guide about his personal story, by meeting craftsmen, artisans, by having meals cooked by local people. It's something you cannot avoid when you're in Romania. So, and the fact that we still have such an authentic local culture with the biodiversity that we have in nature are the two elements that have to appeal to travelers who consider Romania. And actually, paradox or contrast is the third element that I find plays a role in Romania's appeal to travelers, because you have these two worlds and these two ways of doing things that somehow collide, but in Romania they actually beautifully coexist. So a simple example are the buildings in Bucharest. You have the communist-looking buildings and you have the French-looking buildings next to each other. Or you have modern buildings or buildings that have been recently and beautifully renovated next to buildings that look like they're going to fall apart the next minute. And then you have people in the countryside that still live in a way that's very close to the rhythm of nature and the way of the land, but in their pockets they have like super fast and super smartphones, and these two things they coexist. And this kind of paradox you find in many places and in many ways in Romania. So we started off 13 years ago without knowing whether our idea was gonna stand as a business idea, because everyone told us it won't. We just believed it will, and we held on to that. And I think the first 3 years we just gathered proof that the idea stands and this can be a business. Then for the next 7 years we figured out how to actually operate, and my desire and our desire with Julia and Alexandra was to make people aware that Romania is an option. And to give you a sense, we were going to some of the trade shows and we were giving geography lessons, because Romania was just in this dark corner of Europe. And people knew Transylvania, for example, but some didn't know it's in Romania. And if they knew that, they didn't know exactly where and how do you reach it and what's in there, in terms of travel experiences. And after 10 years where I thought, okay, we kind of did an okay job putting Romania on the map, at least in the little bubble where we operate, what's the next challenge? Because I always need a challenge, and it has to be a bit beyond than just running a business and making a profit. And because I noticed that most of the things we talk about are related to Romania as a country and not Beyond Dracula as a business, I thought this is the gap. Romania doesn't have a brand, or it has. I mean, some people have associations with what Romania is about, but many people, when you tell them Romania, it's a blank in their heads. So I said, let's spend the next 10 years exploring Romania's brand. I didn't want to set the goal to find it, because I don't know if we will, but because we engage with travelers who see it for the first time and get their impressions, and because we do constant research on the ground and see the country, I thought we're in the perfect position to just explore and see, okay, what could be the face and voice of this country. So this is what we're doing for the past 3 years, and hope to keep doing for the next 7, and then I don't know where we'll be, what the next chapter will look like. But when I think of Beyond Dracula, I don't think we're a travel agency. I think we're just putting in the work and doing our part to give Romania a face and a voice.